Good evening. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers Monday Night Live podcast. What can we say? It's the 16th of June. The transfer window is open. It is 2025, not 2035, like Kenny said this morning on his agenda. But we are ready to go. Joined by a full squad. It is Andrew, and the man himself, Kenny. It has been a busy day. Transfer window is open and all the speculation has begun, just what we like to hear. And in the last hour or so, there has been some quite intriguing speculation as well. But we're going to start with Rangers' statement. First of all, back to the governing bodies in relation to John Brown's somewhat infamous outburst or comments after the Easter Road goal / non-goal. Rangers spokesman has said, Rangers FC has submitted a full response to the Scottish FA's notice of complaint concerning a remark made during the commentary of Hibs versus Rangers match at the end of last season. The club firmly denies any breach of Scottish FA rules. We're surprised that a complaint has been raised at all, given the context of the comment and the Scottish FA's prior treatment of similar incidents. Our response highlights that the Scottish FA's own key match independent incident panel judged that the referee's decision on the day was incorrect, with 4 out of 5 panel members agreeing that a goal should have been awarded to Rangers. That finding helps explain the nature of the spontaneous emotional comment delivered during a highly charged moment and immediately challenged on air. Our response also sets out serious concerns about the Scottish FA's selective enforcement and inconsistency. We have highlighted multiple examples of similar or stronger remarks made elsewhere in Scottish football that have led to no charges or sanctions. While we remain committed to maintaining high standards, we will continue to challenge any action we consider to be unfair or disproportionate. For many supporters, this charge only adds to the wider frustration surrounding regulatory oversight in recent months, where there are more serious issues in the game to tackle, including improving officiating standards for the benefit of Scottish football. Gentlemen, a statement I can thoroughly get behind. Lots of really good moments in that. And I think, when it talks about highlighting multiple examples of similar, stronger remarks made elsewhere in Scottish football that have led to no challenges, I think that's absolutely perfect. When you consider the fact that we have had documentaries in football stadiums about how the referees are all against us, we have had guests on official club shows talk about chopping up our players and sending them to the four corners of the country and not a thing happening. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. I think this is a fantastic statement by the club. I also think that Rangers' decision to advertise John Brown doing the tours around Ibrox is quite a solid mark of support for Bomber as well. I'm really pleased with the club's reaction to this, gents. How are we feeling about that statement?
I think it was perfect. It's spot on. And the fact that we can point to, no, your own panel said that this goal should have stood. Like 4 out of 5 of them, 80% of them said it should have stood. So it's clearly pointing out the hypocrisy and the reason for, Bomber's perfectly valid comment. I thought it was a great statement. I hope it's a sign of things to come because it's the approach I think that's needed. We've tried to be as what would you call it, like as gentle as possible, I suppose, or as building bridges as we could have been in the past, and it hasn't got us anywhere. So seeing this approach, I think is it's exactly the right one, and I'm glad to see the club doing it.
I tend to agree. And from the referee's perspective, I happen to have heard, put it that way, that there's not a referee in Scottish football, and an official in Scottish football didn't think that was a goal when they were looking at the VAR, footage, which begs the question: what on earth was Nick Walsh doing then? And what was the fourth the linesman? What was he doing? Because he's got a perfect view of it. The assistant referee, Nick Walsh, has a perfect view of it. Doesn't give it. it actually ripples the net. It hits the inside of the post and ripples the net. They must see this. They must. And to me, this kind of goes down to the kind of tin pot VAR that we're using, and that's the reason that they're saying that they couldn't give the goal. But the simple fact is that what they've done with the John Brown comment is a deflection from their incompetency and their inability to officiate a game to a proper manner. And that's where I feel that Rangers have actually nailed this on, because what they have done when they explain in the statement that they've actually went on to show the SFA countless incidents, or we'll call it incidents, where these kind of things have happened, and the SFA have just turned a blind eye. And this is what we get. Rangers get this all the time. Rangers have had this for years, guys, haven't they? That it's a deflection tactic because they know they'll get away with it against us, and they have done for years. Well, hopefully with the new board, with Patrick Stewart, I've been quite impressed with Patrick Stewart in certain incidents, and this is one of them, and then not quite so impressed with him in others. But with this, I'm very impressed with it, because he's standing up for the club, he's standing up for John Brown, he's standing up for the fans, and he's actually telling the SFA, you can stick this right up your hoop. We've had enough of this. We're not going to sit there and stand for it. So I'm actually really, a bit like yourself, Steve, quite happy with it. Really am.
Andrew, I was going to ask you, when you think about, I think they made a bit of a balls up when it came to the Tifu statement, or the I think that was a big overreaction too quickly. I think we should have waited 24 hours and just to see what happened. I think this is definitely a case of saying, right, okay, we have a new head of comms in, and it's a case of saying, right, maybe we didn't handle that one so well, but this one I definitely think hits the mark, because it's not overly aggressive. It's not, pitchforks and stuff like that. It's clear and concise, but the message is also clear that there's double standards at play here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start if this is if it comes out, this is the whole kind of rethink of our process of how we handle instances like this, because I'm sure it won't be the first, it's not going to be the last, because it's just the way that the standards are. I think we handled it really well. I think you're spot on, Stevie, and that the 250 approach to the TIFO was incorrect. I don't think any Rangers fan would disagree with that. I think we jumped the gun, ironically. But this was spot on. I think they've backed their man like we wanted them to do. Yeah, it's spot on for me. The wording solid. Referencing the other ways that this happens in the game, that nothing happens with. Kenny again alluding to the diet VAR that we've got that puts him in this situation in the first place. We're only stating fact. We're not reaching for anything in this debate. We had the chance to knock it out of the park, and we did. So I'm proud of the club of the statement. I think it's very strong, and as you said, the bomber tours was a perfect additional piece to this good story today.
Let's not forget, Nick Walsh has previous against Rangers, even this season. You think of Diamante's red card at Tannadice. There's been lots of things that Nick Walsh has been suspect over. I think maybe it's about time we shone the spotlight more on referees, as Kenny said. They've got away with this because VAR's their backup and VAR isn't inconclusive. Nick Walsh was at the edge of the box. He's able to see that ball roll up the side net. So we've discussed this over and over again. In the end, the goal meant absolutely nothing. Whether we had won, lost, draw on the final day of the season, it meant nothing. But it's more a pattern of behaviour against Rangers, I think, that concerns the support. And that's why I think so many of us are galvanised behind the statement that Rangers made, because none of us want, I think it's fair to say, none of us want the club to be kicking, screaming and pitchforks every single time something happens. What we do want is a clear and concise defence of Rangers and the supporter, most importantly, when it's necessary. And I think the club done that yesterday. So I'm really pleased with that. I'm really pleased sticking behind John Brown. And I'm also pleased at the subtleness of the the Rangers tours, etc. with Bomber. Good on the club, and I hope it continues. Let's move on, because everybody is here to hear about Max Aarons, Harry Darling, Kwame, Poku, Cyriel Dessers, all the latest transfer rumours. We have them, and it's going to be fun. The window is officially open. It opened this morning for all clubs. I think we're about the only club that hasn't done any business, because you can obviously do business before and just properly do it on today's date. We are here, and let's start with Cyriel Dessers. Reports this morning in certain kind of online things that Ike Athens have agreed a deal, and a deal is done, and they've made bids and everything else. The official word is no bids have been received for Cyriel Dessers. That remains the official site, an official kind of response at this moment in time. That doesn't mean, and let's be careful about this, that doesn't mean they're not talking. That doesn't mean they haven't agreed verbally things that have happened. And that doesn't mean that they aren't interested. What it means at the moment is there's nothing official in terms of pre-agreed and things like that. Now, when you listen to the more accurate kind of reporters over in Greece, that's exactly what they're saying as well. So this is an ongoing thing. We've all kind of had our say. Andrew Stewart, I'm keen to kind of start with you, because we haven't really had much say from you. This is going to be the usual protracted Rangers transfer, I would imagine. There's always one every summer. Cyriel Dessers, I have a bit of a concern over whether or not Ike Athens will be able to see this through and will actually be able to afford what we want for Cyriel Dessers, which is well north of £5 million. Not euros, pounds. So their valuation, I'm not sure matches up. And my own opinion is of it, I'm not so sure that this is a real link as such. They might be interested, but I think there's certain reporting that may be jumping the gun with Cyriel Dessers' exit.
It may well be that. It may well be the case, that maybe they are interested, and maybe Rangers are considering offloading him. It doesn't necessarily mean that the two will meet in the middle. We've talked to lengths about whether we think it's the right move, and what the price tag we want is. If Rangers are standing by the price they want, they have the perfect standing to do so. I mean, Cyriel, regardless of the eye test, is doing well in terms of stats. I mean, he puts the ball in the net. That's what you want a striker to do. And he's still contracted to Rangers. We have no reason to push him out the door from a contract length standpoint, or he's he's a bad player. Statistically, I'm again going off of, because we have the eye test, as I said. He has good games, he has bad games, but the stats don't lie, and that's what teams will be looking at. We have a good stance here. We have the right to do so. It's not like last summer where we want to ship out players to clear the wage bill. There will be some, I'm guessing, some adjustments made. Players, Deadwood, who are on significant amount of money being shipped out. I'm not going to mention Rabbi Matondo, but I will mention Kieran Dill. Players in that ilk, the Rangers will try to move on for wage relief. Dessers doesn't particularly need to be one of them. We can hold the cards close to our chest and see if Ike will make the move, but until then, it's all just going to be, paper talk.
Yeah, which is completely fair. I think this is an early test for Kevin Thelwell personally. Rangers, Cyriel Dessers has scored 50-odd goals in the last couple of years. If teams want him, he's 30 years old. If teams want him, then you're paying for him. And I think 5 million plus is where I am with Cyriel Dessers. And I'm not willing to go down to 3 and 4 million, which other teams might be. Andrew Kenny, I'll come to you just a minute. Just thanks to Hands Across the Water 1872. Guys, thanks very much. Great show they do for all the Northern Ireland Bears. If you haven't checked them out and you guys want to, please do. So thank you for that, guys. We appreciate that. Andrew Kenny, Cyriel Dessers, we've done this to death, really. But he shouldn't be sold for cheap.
No, he shouldn't. And the thing that I would say is, over the last few years, Rangers have been far too easy to lowball in situations like this, and I want to see that stop. For me, the value is 5 million plus. I mean, I said that if you were sitting there with a guy that hadn't scored a lot of goals last season, then I can understand them thinking 2 million or whatever, which is the story I seen reported or hinted at today, that they were prepared to pay 2. You're not getting them for anything like that. It's an absolute nonsense. And that's where I'm like you. I'm thinking 5 million is a reasonable price. And Rangers should stick to their guns, because I don't know. Stevie, you'd maybe be able to tell me a bit better on this, but I've got a funny feeling that a lot of agents, with situations like this, start playing funny beggars with clubs, where they turn around and they say, right, we'll get them down, you'll get more money, you'll get the guy for less, we'll get more money, the player will get more money, and the club that's selling is the one that gets the least amount of money. And Rangers have to stop being that club. And if you want Cyriel Dessers with his 50-odd goals in 2 seasons, who's fit and available every single week, 5 million is not an unreasonable asking price. And as you say, you could be looking at 6.5 for this, for that kind of quality of player. And I can understand why Rangers would be kind of looking at it and saying perhaps it's time to let him go. 2 years left, maybe not fitting into the new manager's style of play or pattern of play. So I understand the situation with Rangers, but they should genuinely play hardball with a club that's sitting thinking they're getting the money cheap, because the bottom line for me is there'll be plenty of suitors. There will be plenty of clubs interested in a guy like Cyriel Dessers, who does know where the goal is. Doesn't hit it every time, but he knows where the goal is.
Andrew?
Yeah, he's a player who has obviously demonstrated his value to us. Arguably one of the better players last season, which might say more about the quality of squad last season than his own individual qualities. But he's got 50 goals over 2 seasons. I mean, that's on paper, that's very good. So we should absolutely be trying to get the maximum value for him. And Kenny's point, 2 years left on his deal as well. You need to be paying out the rest of the value of the contract as well. So I think, we should be trying to get as much for him as possible, because he's an asset, and at the moment he's our only reliably fit striker as well. So we should be asking for plenty of money for him.
Yeah, and I think this is where it's key for Rangers. I've said this before, and I will repeat myself briefly, not to bore everyone. Getting sales out for your guys that aren't your big wonder money, your likes, your Hamza Egaman, your Nico Raskins, your Mohamed Diamandis, who are the top assets. Making normal sales is vitally important for this football club. Getting 1.5 million for Robin Proper, getting 3 million for Ben Davies and Kieran Dowell between them, possibly. Getting the right amount for Cyriel Dessers, Ridvan Yilmaz, Nadeem Bayrami, whoever else might go out the door. It's vitally important Rangers now operate a system where, no, if you want to pay for our players, then you will pay our market value for them. And I think that's something that we haven't done, especially when you look at last summer. Now, there is context to that. They had to make sales available to manage to make the club more attractive to owners, get the wage. But I understand all that. But this is now a year on. We're in a different position. So a lot of people are asking about Robin Proper on the comments. Robin Proper's situation about 20 not affording wages. Robin Proper is not on a high wage at Rangers Football Club. He is not. He is not a 20,000 plus a week player. That is completely not true. So we spoke about that even last year. He will be in a position to move on, albeit he might have to take a drop to go back to 20. But it's unlikely that he would get any game time here. Robin Proper, most like others, will come under a kind of situation where, there might be a lot of action happening and we don't know about it to the last minute. I commented about this guys, yesterday when we spoke about Chris and I's show. Leeds United do things completely differently. They announced a signing and then only really become public knowledge a couple of hours earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if Rangers are in the exact same position. So moving on, Team Talk today reported Kwame Poku had chosen Rangers, and that deal was done to go to Rangers. We know that interest is true. At that moment, they talks have been, or that report has kind of been played down. what do we know about Kwame Poku? He was injured for quite a bit of last season. I think he missed around about 3 months, in which Barry Fry said was still player of the year, was still in the team of the year. An unbelievable potential signing. Pace, knows the way to goal. He had 12 goals and 8 assists in 27 games from last season. There would be a nominal fee, a cross-border transfer fee, maybe similar to the kind of Joe Aribo style. But he's a guy that excites me. Cards on the table, I would like to see him sign, given given the hype around him. I suppose that's fair to say. We need players, we need wingers. It makes perfect sense. We've got to be careful, I think, with players. We'll talk about Harry Darling. He possibly comes into that as well. When you think about players that are available for free or relatively low investment, Andrew Stewart, I'll come to you first because you've been last every other time, so I may as well ask you first, buddy. I don't want to get into complaints. A fantastic top, by the way. Really fantastic choice of strip. Really, really nice. Kwame Poku, reports today that deal's done. We don't know the validity of that, but what we will say is he's definitely somebody we're interested in, and he's a player that I think that would excite everybody.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it when it first came out that there was a player that we were interested in, so to speak, a player that was going to be out of contract and available in that kind of cross-border fee. The goal involvement stat is a good stat. I mean, the eye test also looks good in terms of, the classic YouTube compilation, the throw skills, and it's these old things we see for every player. But I said at the time, Rangers is an attractive move for a player like Kwame Poku. I think it's a great place to showcase your ability, and we've got a chance to, all things going well, you could be playing Champions League football not too long from now. You get a chance at Europa League. If it's not to be in the Champions League qualifying route, that puts you in the short window. So if Rangers is to be a stepping stone in your wide long-term picture as a player, and you have that ambition, Rangers will certainly enjoy a nice fee at the end of it, which is, as we've said in many shows before, to increase the overall ability in this team. We need to be a kind of selling club in terms of buy low, sell high, the perfect scenario. But if these are the perfect picks, these nominal kind of cross-border fees, if you can find a star, we discussed. You said Joe Aribo, a player that we got £6 million for, and that was in the last year of his deal. If we managed that better, you could have been talking 10 plus easy. A player who was electric, and I miss him dearly. But that's the kind of you're talking about. That's the high bar that you can produce with these kind of deals. It would be one I'd be very interested in. He certainly seems like a talented player, can grow, be a great place for him to continue to grow. So yeah, I'm very, very happy if that does happen, and if it is true that that Birmingham was also considered and they decided to come to us. I think that's also another good point in terms of us being a marketable team for players who are out of contract that can decide Rangers is a place to be for me.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree. He fits the profile in terms of being that young, talented player. 23. He can play on the right wing, which is always a rarity for us. That's always nice. And of course, he missed 23 games with a hamstring injury last season as well. So I think he's a perfect fit for Rangers. Slots right into our expected kind of transfer dealings. I mean, in all seriousness, he does look like he's got potential. You just would hope that it's a one-off and not, hopefully, a recurring issue. That's the one time he's been injured. And it's not like John Sousa situation where he's coming in with a history of injuries that might make us pause, I guess.
Kenny, we need a plethora of wingers in the summer. We really do. Quite like that word, plethora. And we need pace, we need power, we need an eye for goal, right-sided wingers, left-footed. That to me, he's an exciting one for me. He kind of ticks all the boxes, and I'm looking at it twofold. I'm looking at it, like we've said before on this show, we need to be clever in places this summer. That's why I don't mind the kind of Harry Darling thing. which we'll talk about in a wee minute. But we need to be clever. You know, we're going to have to spend money on a spine of a team, perhaps spend money on 4 or 5 players that are going to be of value to the first team. But we need to also cherry pick what we can of the best deals that are available elsewhere, whether it's loans, whether it's small value, cross-border or free transfers, etc. This one to me, and I would, by the way, I would be hopeful of another right winger if we brought in him, another couple of left wingers. That's the position I'm in, or maybe even one left winger, a guy that can play both sides. But we do need more we need more wingers. We need more pace. We need more power. We need more threats from this team, where it's not just Cyriel Dessers or it's not just Tierney. We need threats all over the place. And this boy, to me, excites me. I think he could be a really good addition.
I'm sure he will be if he does come. It's important to understand he's a young boy and he's going to take a step up from League One, though. And it'll take a bit of time for him to, understand the demands that we'll place on him. However, what I would say that you're spot on about is that we need a plethora, as you put it, of right wingers and left wingers. We need 2 on each side. And I know Oscar Cortez is there, and I heard the review this morning saying that he was, you guys were saying he was coming back early to try and get himself as fit as he can be. However, we haven't addressed the right wing situation for a number of years, actually, and we need to address this season. We do need to. I don't think Ross McCausland has progressed the way I would like him to. So I'm looking at perhaps, a replacement there on the left-hand side. If you actually look at the left-hand side as well, we've kind of struggled there since Gerrard was the manager. We've kind of struggled to get any consistency on the wings at all. So you are right. I think that the boy's profile does look cracking. His stats look excellent. League One's not a bad league, but this will be a step up, and the European football will be very much a step up for him. However, he's an exciting young player. He's rapid. What I have seen him, he is absolutely super fast. So that's quite exciting, because I think we are sadly lacking in terms of speed right across our football, but team. So I think that needs addressed, and I'm hoping that bit by bit we start to see this getting pieced together, because this is the first day of the window, and we've been linked with about 10 players today. It's just typical of what's going to happen. But that boy, as you say, the rumour is that might not be too far away. If it is to be true, I'd be quite excited by that one, mate. I really would.
Yeah, me too. Look, listen, I think I've been I've spoken about this quite a lot. It happens when you do Rangers review as well as this podcast, that I feel like maybe I've repeated myself a wee bit, so I'm sorry if you're hearing this before, but I am excited about the potential of watching a Rangers team that has threats all over it. We know that there's question marks over Russell Martin's style. We've got to hope that he will learn lessons of that with regards to defensive. But the way he talks about, being captain, the final third of opposition, breaking down low blocks, this fast, aggressive kind of attacking style, lots of possession, etc. I really, really hope that that's going to happen. I don't mean to say this and sound ungrateful, but I can't remember the last time I was at Ibrox watching a Rangers team that properly excited me, where I was watching threats from everywhere. It's got to be right back in Gerrard's years 3-4 years ago. So these are the kind of things I'm really looking forward to. Poku really does fit that. Tonight's breaking news is something that also really excites me. Football Manager fans everywhere, I know Andrew will absolutely love this. Max Aarons, it was reported by Matteo Moretto, who is a journalist with 370,000 followers, just slightly ahead of myself by a couple of 100,000. He has posted tonight, Rangers FC has finalised the case of Max Aarons. The parties must follow a verbal statement on the occasion. That's been followed up by Chris Jack, who confirms that there is definite interest. I can also confirm, from what I know, that there is complete interest in a loan move for Max Aarons. He is a player that Russell Martin knows very well. He's a player that speaks really highly of Russell Martin. He was also a player that Russell Martin name-checked on his very opening press conference. He is somebody that has been at Bournemouth after Norwich. He had a bit of a stalling season last season. He didn't play that much, went on loan to Valencia, only played 4 times. I think only 1 start and 3 of them were off the bench. He's been involved in 18 squads for Valencia, so only really 7% of minutes available he got. So he has stalled slightly. He was somebody at Norwich who had an outstanding reputation growing up. He was tipped to be the next big thing. He was a speedster, a really good defender, really quick up and down the line. In fact, when you think about Russell Martin's team, he would be everything that kind of fits in. And he's a right back, which we've not had right back support for James Tavernier in a long, in a long time. So look how excited I'm getting when we're talking about a right back. Andrew Stewart, please come in and help me out here before I pass away with sneezing. He's an exciting prospect.
Yeah, I mean, I think this Williams just put that as Matt Gill, who's Russell's assistant manager. He name checked in that interview, his press conference, saying that he helped develop those players, Max Aarons, Todd Campbell, and I think Jacob Murphy or something along those lines. I can't remember the third player, but yeah, I think it's not I wouldn't say it's an easy win, but it's a player that you can already know of. I mean, it's not external scouting. We've not had to look very far. It's a player that the coaching staff's familiar with and can confident they can bring him in and he can do a job. But I think these type of signings are important when you have a lot of business to do in such a short period of time. If you can get an extra body in there who can play, by all accounts, both sides of the wing back roles, relatively two-footed, well balanced, can get up the park, can do the dirty stuff. I mean, it's similar to Kyle Walker-Peters, who he had at Southampton, who is that kind of quick speedster, happy to take the ball, happy to bring it forward. I don't see it being one we get permanently. I think that's probably out of the equation. I think this is one that we make the most of. It's mutually beneficial if it can get Max back to playing recognisable minutes. You know what? They had issues with hamstrings at Bournemouth. Didn't have a lot of minutes at Valencia. Granted, played in a Real and a Barca game, and by all accounts was relatively decent in both. You're talking about a guy who was linked to Bayern Munich not too long ago. Valencia did have an option to buy, but decided to go against it. I think that there is potential there for the boy. I think it's just a case of getting him settled, and I think if similar to the Todd Cantwell kind of, if you can get him playing in an environment he likes, which I think you're probably a good chance of doing under Martin and Gill, we could get the most out of him. Short term, well, obviously, we're not going to be able to keep him. I doubt that's going to happen. Because as we would like it to be a case of he comes in, he hits the ground running, he's impressive for Rangers, and in that case, his transfer value goes back up to the 9 million, the 12 million that his deal could rise to. I think it was the deal to go to Bournemouth could rise to 12. I think he's slightly out of our price range at 12. if we shot down Flynn Downs at 10, but if we can take him this season, get him back to as good as he can be, that's good for us and it's good for him, and that's a good partnership. And if at the end of the season we're successful, he's happy and he goes to onto bigger and better things, then that's a good deal for me.
Kenny, as soon as I heard this, Andrew, as soon as I heard this, I was excited about the potential of Max Aarons. He is a player that certainly had a sterling reputation. He has, he's coming from a season where he's not played a lot of football. He'll be fit, he'll be ready to go. But something's key. The way he spoke about Russell Martin, for me, makes me think that this one could potentially really happen, because he's a guy that's really experienced, likes playing with Russell Martin, talked about his aura in the dressing room, and everybody knew he would go on to be a coach. And I think this is one that he might thrive on, having looked at it. No game time at Bournemouth, no game time Valencia, not taking up his option. Where can he kickstart his career back again? And like Andrew says, it could be one that works for everyone. I think this one is one that would genuinely excite me.
Yeah, we know we've got other options at right back that in theory are coming back. Sterling is going to be back this season, but probably not until like October, November. So you need to have another option at right back. We talked about the Tav situation already, but that's clearly a position that's going to have some focus put onto it. I looked at his injury history as well, and there's 2 hamstring injuries in there, so that's good. But they were 2 seasons ago, so that's fine. He definitely won't have a recurrence with us. But yeah, in terms of stats wise, it looks much more defensive, if you like, than Tav. Has scored, I think it's probably got something like 16 goal involvements, so that's goals and assists, and is that stats dwarfed by the number of yellow cards that he's got over his career. So definitely more defensively focused, you would say, or prone to a daft challenge. Again, sure, that wouldn't be punished in Scotland. But again, you're looking at the best case scenario here, and it's the Journey thing where he comes in and gives you a level of quality that you wouldn't ordinarily have in that position, because you're getting a player that's a step above what you can afford to get. That's the ideal scenario, and you'd be hoping that a player who Martin has worked with in the past, he's going to be known to him, he'll know what he can do, and he will know if he can stand up to the pressure at Rangers. So that's what you're hoping for.
Kenny, just before I get you in, some stats from Max Aarons on the 23-24 season. 20 appearances, 1 assist, 1,398 minutes played, 79.23 pass accuracy, 33.33 cross accuracy, 0.26 key passes, 5.47 progressive passes per 90, which is interesting. 55.83 defensive duels won, 55% offensive duels won, 2.58 interceptions per 90, 58.97 successful dribbles. Thanks to Kai Watson, who does a great job on scouting players on X. He stuck that up. All data via Y Scout. Kenny, for a Premiership fullback, I remember him at Norwich. Like, I genuinely remember him at Norwich, and he was the up and comer. He was a bombing fullback, getting forward, rapid pace. He stalled a wee bit, but we can't get guys that are pinnacle of their careers. We can't afford them. It doesn't work like that. We have to somewhat gamble on players that we can perhaps recycle, who we know, the manager knows, and gets the best out of them. I think genuinely this boy would be a terrific signal of intent for the manager. And you get him, you get Poku, and all of a sudden things are starting to come together. And he's somebody that I can actually pronounce as well. So I'm all for this one. And what's your thought?
He is a very good player. He is a good fullback, and he's a marauding fullback. He gets up and down the park. My only concern would be something that Andrew said as well, that, it is a little bit like the Cherny thing, where you're perhaps getting somebody that is perhaps just out with your reach, in the sense that if he does really well for us, we're not going to be able to go out our way to buy this guy, but unless he really does want to come here and he forces the issue with his parent club. But yeah, he's a good player. He's very much, as you said, what Russell Martin is probably going to be looking for on that side. So it's a really exciting kind of development that is legitimate, and that by the looks of it, that might well be happening. And yeah, that it kind of shows you perhaps what the story about James Tavernier perhaps coming in at centre half, that Tav might be back up for him for a number of positions, or a couple of positions this season. But the boy is his stats are fantastic, as I said. I mean, they are, and he's a player that I remember being at Norwich, and that was a decent Norwich side. If you remember, they were a bit of a yo-yo club back then when he was really flying. They were up one year, down the next, and Andrew Anderson there will know that more than any of us, because that's his football club down there, isn't it? He knows plenty about them, and that's where I would look at, him and Cantwell were playing the same season in the Premier League. Pair of them flying. They were a good outfit to watch. So an exciting move. And if he's, if he's fit and raring to go, because that is the issue when you see that he didn't play much in the second half of this season at all. Don't know what that is. That could be anything. That could just be going to Valencia, not fitting in, not understand, just not getting the culture, not getting the players. Maybe a bad atmosphere in the dressing room. You just don't know. He's just not fitted in at all there. So good luck to him if he comes, mate. I'm quite excited about that because it's a genuine bit of quality at right back there that I'd be really interested to watch, really excited to watch.
I'm going to ask this question because this gentleman obviously watching in to see about Cyriel Dessers. We've already talked about Cyriel Dessers. There is no official bid apparently received from Cyriel Dessers for Ike Athens. 4.7 million euros. What would that be? About 3.8 million pounds. I think Rangers would be looking for a lot more. So officially, no official bid received. I'm going to call this dude Max. Thanks for watching, buddy. But official word is nothing agreed there. No official bids on that one. Thank goodness we have names like Kenny and Andrew that I can actually pronounce. Right, okay, a wee bit on Harry Darling. Harry Darling is said to be close to Norwich. That's the kind of latest move there. But Rangers have been linked with him. Whether or not that's a kind of lazy link, we're not sure. We don't know how much interest there is. It was somebody Joshua talked about quite a bit on Rangers Review this morning. To me, it would be sensible if Russell Martin knows him. When you look at his kind of stats, he made 39 appearances, 5 goals, 3 assists, pass rate 87.8, and that's what Russell Martin looks for. Chances created 2.26 per game. Shots 4.55 per game is wild for a centre half. Tackles 5.65 per game. Long ball accuracy 45%. Aerial duels 165%. 2,907 touches. Kenny, that was your stats. He seems like an okay player. In relation as well, Connor Cody, you done a bit of a breakdown on him as well. He played a total of 2,002 minutes across all competitions. 1 assist for him. He's had 198 appearances overall in his kind of breakdown of career. 7 goals, 1 assist. Clean sheets 52. Minutes played 2,002. Not much. We don't know much about what Rangers are apparently doing. That's the thing, and we spoke about this earlier on with regards to Harry Darling. It might be an easy link. Reports saying he's close to Norwich. We don't know how true the link to Rangers even is. Connor Cody, somebody that's been reported by the Rangers Review and other outlets that Rangers are interested in. So I think there's obvious desire there to get an extra body in at the back before. What I'm trying to say is I think we would be looking in the free market before we spend money on a centre back. That's what I would be hoping. Anything in your thoughts with that, Kenny, when you look at the likes of those stats and those boys, Darling, as we said, heavily linked now to Norwich. Norwich seem to be keen and they're kind of happy that they might have won that race, but we're going to be linked with a lot of players in this summer.
Yeah, of course we are. I will get literally linked to hundreds of players over the next few weeks. I like Connor Cody as a player. I'm not fully aware of Harry Darling. I know I've seen him a little bit, but Swansea were not a team I watched an awful lot over the last couple of years, I've got to be fair, so I'm not up to date with him at all. But I do know that our manager likes him as a player. He's managed him twice, I believe. So there is a definite link there. My only concern, and I'm going to be 100% honest, that there's a positive and a negative to this, that I'm looking at it and you're noticing that what we're being linked with at this minute in time is the kind of Bosman market at this minute in time. The players that are out of contract are being linked to some guys that are quite highly paid, and you're probably trying to get these guys in as early as we can. Loans as well. However, that suggests to me that there'll be a number of buys coming in over the next week or two, because they're almost already done. That's kind of my take on that. My only concern is that if I'm being 100% honest with some of the players that we've been linked with, are they genuinely the quality that we need? I don't know. It's a genuine question. It's not me doubting it. I'm just looking at boys like Connor Cody and Harry Darling and saying, are they going to be league winning centre halves for us? I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced they will be, but I'm perfectly willing to be proven wrong. But I'm just a wee bit wary about that. But as I say, to temper that, I'm kind of presuming that the better players are going to come in on fees, on wages, big fees, or not big fees, but on buys, if you like.
See, this is where I think Haggis has got this kind of nailed on, and it's something that I've said as well. I really think it's a good comment. We're going to have to take a chance on 2 or 3. We're going to have to piece this together almost like a jigsaw. We aren't going to spend, in my opinion, 40, 50 million. I would be absolutely mega delighted if we spent 30. And that's even included all the money we spent. And I think 20 million is more realistic on where we will be. And that's going to mean some really clever signings in there. Andrew, we don't know the situation with centre backs. We're going to be linked with quite a lot. There might be a few, like Haggis says there, that we do have to take a chance on. Kenny's right. How good are these guys? Are they potentially any better than Ben Davies? I don't have a lot of experience at seeing either. I know that Cody obviously played for a long time in the Premiership with Everton, and then he's went to Leicester. I think he only played 22 times last year. Harry Darling's a boy that I know absolutely nothing about, only stat-wise, which Kenny done for us there. So I've got to be honest, I'm a bit in the dark. But I do think Haggis is right. I think that you're going to have to take a few punts. You're going to have to piece this squad together, given the absolute amount of work that needs to be done.
I remember seeing comments from Leeds fans that, the initial fear when the same consortium that took them over came in, that's taken us over, rather, when they came in, they were concerned because they saw a whole bunch of good named players leaving and complete unknowns coming in. And that terrified them because it was like, who are these guys? But we know that there is a scouting team behind this, and that we know that there is a method to the madness because we've seen how well Leeds have signed players. It's players who have got potential, who fit into a system, and who then deliver. So, I mean, I know it's Rangers. We're a good name to throw out there, so we are going to be linked with every player under the sun, which is going to be a delight. It keeps us busy, gives us something to do. But what it does mean is that we are probably going to get players who we have never heard of before. But as long as they fit into this plan, as long as they fit into this system, and some of the names that we've been linked with do fit that mold, young, talented, potential for growth. That's the kind of market that we're going to go into. And as you say, Stevie, it's with the hope that we're going to see some improvement on these guys. Because much as we might want to, think that we don't exist in this footballing ecosystem, we're in a position where we are primarily a selling club now, as opposed to a buying one. We're a stop on the way for players going to the Premier League or to other big leagues. So you would hope that these guys fit into the system, and that we can go on and see some magic happen after that.
Andrew Stewart, just on this point, are we buying players to fit into the system or players that Martin wants? I would imagine, from what the football club have said, if you journey back, and we've talked about this before, when you look at Old Trafford and the fact that Kevin Thelwell and others that are now here as part of the recruitment team were actually sitting in the stand and have been for several months watching our games. They've recruited Russell Martin. They've said he was the first choice from day one. They've said that he was the only one that was ever offered the job. They have said that they will recruit for that system. So I think that if we're buying, I asked them the question on the press conference day and they said it would be a collaborative thing. I don't have any any issue that we would go to the lengths that we have, make the kind of make the watching the team, for so long since January, just to decide now that we're just going to buy for the sake of buying without making them fit into Russell Martin's squad. Do you think that's fair? And I got really tongue-tied trying to get that out, so I'm not making a good job of this.
No, I think you're spot on. I think regardless of it all kind of coming together, I do think there has been an idea of it going, as you said, to Martin a lot longer than we expected it to. Whilst we were all buying our tickets on the Ancelotti hype train, I think the wheels were already in motion for the idea of who's coming in under a Martin system. I like that he's tactically versatile across the teams he's played at. He has a good mixture of playing certain styles for certain teams. He's made it, from all accounts, he made learnings in his time out of the game. So I think he's a smart manager. I think he'll have an idea of how he wants this Rangers team to play. I think he would have, brought this in his presentation to the board. The board seemed to be very happy with, whatever fancy PowerPoint, as the Caixinha story goes. I think they've been well chuffed with this kind of idea of Martin being the next man at the helm, and I'm sure they've been ready, firing into lists of players, metrics and data that suit that kind of style, and all the bullet points that go alongside how a Russell Martin team plays. And the wheels will be in motion. I think it's the weirdness of this kind of window, with it being open and shut, and then the Club World Cup and so on. I think it's a bit, I don't want to say it's unprecedented, but it's a bit strange in the kind of landscape of football this summer. But it's all going to be steam ahead now with all the 10 billion rumours we get with per day. Some wacky ones, some ones you can shoot down instantly. But I'm enjoying it so far. I think by the time we roll round into pre-season, we'll have a kind of better idea of where we are, because right now you're going to have players coming back from the holidays, players coming back from loans. We're going to forget there'll be names going out the door. As Andrew said, at Leeds there was a lot of exits for the big names. We'll see how it goes. It's going to be, well, it'll be keeping us busy, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, it certainly will be. What I would say is probably best just to say, just like we've kind of reiterated, look at Leeds yesterday, announced a player and it was only known in public. Speculation started 2 hours and it was all done. I would not be surprised if we were tapping into databases from Leeds United, the likes of the 49ers, which has been rumoured that we would have access to all sorts of things. I don't see that we're not going to be fully prepared. Kevin Thelwell, Dan Purdy, this isn't a surprise that they're suddenly here, unless they really did just want to go and watch what was a makeshift Rangers team at Old Trafford 6 months ago. I think that everybody's well versed on what needs done. Gentlemen, it's been an action-packed show. We're going to have so many of these. Kenny and I will be back on Wednesday, maybe with somebody else joining us, not quite sure yet. If anything breaks, signing-wise, we'll get straight on and do a breaking news show. We'll be back also towards the end of the weekend, and also there'll be more member videos coming out. Thank you so much to our YouTube members. There's over 500 of you now, which is an incredible show of support. And we really appreciate it all. For all our YouTube watchers, there's over 8,000 subscribers now. I think we're at 8,051 the last look I had, which is incredible. Thank you so much. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. Really, really appreciate all your support. Kenny, thank you very much, mate.
No, thank you. I've taken some stick in those comments tonight, mate. Miserable, I think, is the word that's been said plenty. So happy clapper 1 week, miserable the next. I'll just keep you all guessing there.
Well, listen, hopefully there's no complaints about your mic this week. I know that really upset you.
That did annoy me.
I bought everybody the same mics for this show, folks, so we all have the same mics. Kenny just sits a mile away from his.
Well, it's closer today. I did try.
Andrew Stewart, mate, thank you very much. You win the award for the best dress this evening as well.
Oh, thank you very much. We were having a discussion before we went on it, but Andrew Anderson's got the new goalie kit. I'm going to guess that one is. I can't remember what it is. I like that one, but nice Mandarin number. I believe is what it was quoted on the website when it came out, for absolutely no reason at all. But yeah, another good show. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I think that Mandarin might be making an appearance soon in the fourth kit, but we'll wait and see. Andrew, lovely choice of attire also, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, just little bits of tangerine, I believe, is what we'd go with there. Yeah, very happy with it so far. But I've not watched it yet, so it might explode. Always a pleasure to come on with you guys. It's fun, and yeah, Rangers are going to keep things interesting, and we're still at this early stage where we can be excited because there's hope and optimism, Kenny. It's when we get into reality that then we can be depressed. So I'm excited for now.
Yeah, that's it. Games don't start for a while yet, so we can enjoy all the speculation. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Jim and the team at Rhino Express, Ian and the team at Clydeview Joiner, Ian again and the team at Athol Industrial Solutions, Carlo, and everybody at CSD Air Conditioning, our partners as well, Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you very much for all our sponsors and partners' support of the podcast. They will be continuing. Our support of Rangers Football Club will continue. We will hopefully continue to sponsor Catherine Hill for next season in the women's team, and we will also be advertising at Ibrox. So our money that we get from sponsors goes immediately back into the football club, which we like to do. For all you guys that are watching, guys and girls, thank you very much for the support. I especially appreciate it. It's been a challenging few days, but I thank everybody for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you want to, please sign up for the membership on YouTube. We really appreciate that support. That helps us grow. And I'll end with an old but a really gold one. Ignore the nonsense, the irrelevant, and the noise. Take care, folks.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.